exterior anyway.
Yeah. It almost looks oriental, don't it?
Yeah, right?
Alright, if you folks still in your seats, I'm going to continue with the narration. I want to bring your attention to the right, that is known as the North Shore. As we go underneath the Roberto Clemente Bridge, I want to bring your attention to a small grassy hillside that's right by the river. If you blink, you miss it, because the River Safety Center kind of obscures it. It's right before the stadium. You'll see a bunch of yellow numbers. Those numbers are the Pittsburgh Pirate jersey numbers that have been retired over the years. Roberto Clemente is number 21, you'll see there. But there's one number on the top right that is blue, and it's a number 42. That's because 42 has been retired throughout Major League Baseball because it belonged to a very important player. And I know someone here knows who it is, so go ahead and shout it out. Come on, guys, don't be the first person I stump. Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson, yeah, but he was a Dodger, not a Pirate, so that's why his number's blue. Now, as for the stadium itself, PNC Park is, honestly, it's an objectively beautiful ballpark, and that's not just me being biased. Many sports journalists have said it is one of, if not the, best ballpark in the nation to come and see a baseball game. That's because there really is not a bad seat in the house. Even if you're way up in the cheap seats, nothing will obstruct your view, and you're no more than 88 feet from the action. And if the action on the field is distressing to you, and you need to look away in embarrassment, there's Pittsburgh's beautiful skyline. You could just look at that instead. Now, there are different statues of players from different eras around the other side of the stadium, but there is one statue that we can see from the river, and it's coming up here to the left. It's a statue of a man running, and he's got his cap held high in the air. The man is Bill Mazeroski, and that is from a moment in Pirate history, the 1960 World Series. That year, the Pirates were playing against the very heavily favored New York Yankees. But they stuck it out. They made it all the way to Game 7. They made it all the way to the 9th inning. And it was the bottom of the 9th when they were tied 9-9. Talk about a nail-biting World Series. Well, Bill Mazeroski was up to bat, and he unexpectedly, at the last moment, hit a walk-off home run, which right there ended the game and ended the series with a final score of Pirates 10, Yankees 9. And you could hear the jaws hitting the floor. Because again, the Yankees were heavily favored to win this series. I don't think anyone expected that Pittsburgh was going to bring the title home. Maybe not even Pirates fans. It was an incredible moment, not just in baseball, but in all of sports. But now I want to bring your attention to the front of the Subert building, again on the North Shore. It's kind of hard to see because it is totally in shadow right now, but it's the Korean Veterans Memorial. There are dark spires there, and behind that there is a wall with a whole list of names of people who served in the war and where they hailed from, like their county. There's also a small dedication there to the women who had served in the Korean War as well. And then once we clear Fort Duquesne, again, I want to bring your attention to, right in front of the People's Building, there's another military dedication, and this one is the Vietnam Veterans Monument. This one has a different feel to it. It's an abstract canopy, and underneath that canopy there are statues of soldiers that are being welcomed home by their loved ones. That canopy is an abstract upside-down hibiscus flower pot, which is a symbol of peace and rebirth. It really is a very touching monument. And then, just past that, in front of Stage AE, we have the World War II Memorial. There were large photographs that were taken during the war, and you could be completely encircled within them inside those silver spires. And it does give you a strong emotional reaction to look at the photos. This Memorial Day weekend, if you have time to go check out the North Shore, I recommend check out the military dedications. And there's one more dedication that I can talk about on the North Shore, but this last one is not military. It's to a single person. It is the restored bridge pier coming up. There's a statue of a man who's changing out of his shoes into more comfortable sneakers, and he's wearing an iconic cardigan. Usually, when I say cardigan, people start to smile and nod, because you know now I'm referring, of course, to Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Fred Rogers was born in Latrobe, which is 30 miles outside the city, but he lived and worked most of his adult life right here in Pittsburgh. He filmed Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood at WQED, which is Pittsburgh's public broadcasting station. And fun fact, WQED was the nation's first public broadcasting station. Fred Rogers was a rare example of what you see is what you get. He really wasn't acting on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He was truly that kind and gentle and friendly of a man. And he was also a humble man. He wouldn't have wanted a memorial with his name plastered on it. So when the city unveiled this in 2003, they named it a tribute to children. But just past that tribute to children, we have something completely different. This is probably what Pittsburgh is most famous for. It is, of course, the home of Steeler Nation. It is the one and only stadium formerly known as Heinz Field. We can all see the new name. It's all there. But whenever I say Acrisure Stadium, I get booed. And besides that, I live here too. And Pittsburghers don't call it that. We call it Heinz Field because that's what it is. Heinz Field has 68,400 yellow seats. That is rather small for an NFL stadium. And that's because it was designed to sell out, like the Steelers needed help with that. But if you want season tickets, you can get yourself on the waiting list for it, but be prepared to wait a while. The waiting list for Steelers season tickets is, and I'm not joking, 20 years long. Yeah, they measure it in years. And that's not even the longest. I think the Packers have the record at 35 years. Regardless, it's still a very long wait. So if you want to do that, plan ahead. I usually suggest that if you know someone who's got a baby shower coming up, it might be a nice gift to write the kid's name down. And that way, by the time they get their season tickets, they'll be old enough to have a beer at the game with you. Now, just past Heinz Field, we've got a different kind of entertainment. This is the Carnegie Science Center. It is filled to the brim with awesome sciencey things to do and learn. And you don't need a child to chaperone you to the Carnegie Science Center. You can take a date there and have a lot of fun. You are allowed. That upside-down lampshade that it has on the roof is actually a weather vane. It's called the E-Motion Cone. And when it gets dark enough, it will change color depending on the weather we have rolling in. And if you're curious of what the colors mean, you can just go to the Carnegie Science Center website and you can find out what every color means. And floating in the river just outside the Science Center is one of the coolest things they have that you can still go inside and tour. This is the USS Raekwyn. It is a genuine World War II era submarine. Raekwyn, which is French for shark, it was built in 1945. It's just a little bit too late to see action in the war, so instead it was used as a training vessel. And apparently it held some diving records for a few years. The Raekwyn would house about 81 sailors. 80 of those sailors would get a single saltwater shower per week. That's a little submarine with 80 guys who only get the shower once a week. But there was one sailor that got a freshwater shower every day because it was essential to his job. So what kind of job do you think that would have been? It was the cook. You want the cook to be clean. You really need the cook to be clean. Otherwise, you got 81 guys with food poisoning. Now, I want to bring your attention to the left. And I usually pause the narration right here because, as you can see, this is one of the best views of downtown Pittsburgh you can get anywhere. And inevitably, people stand up and get their phone out. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a nice picture without distracting you to look at other things. And this is also where I get my ad break in. If you haven't been to our website yet, if you check out gatewayclipper.com, you can see all the other tours that we have to offer. We got way more than just sightseeing. We've got dinner cruises, captain's cruises, moonlight dance cruises, which are always a ton of fun. We also have different themed cruises for children. We've got a princess themed cruise next Sunday, June 4th. And we've got face painting there, and a DJ, and a dance party, and real princesses that come on board and read and play games with the kids. And it's loads of fun. You can see when all of those are setting sail at gatewayclipper.com. By now, you've probably met our green shirted crew members that have the prints of the photos that were taken as we boarded today. You can purchase those. They come in the lovely Gateway Clipper themed frame. However, if you pass on that and you get home and you think, oh, I wish I had purchased that, it's not too late. If you go to gatewayclipper.com/photos, pick the hour of your tour, you folks for 6:30, find your group, and you can purchase and download a digital copy to have instead. Just FYI, the prints that you can get today are a little less expensive than a digital copy, so just keep that in mind if you're not sure which version you want to get. But you've got options, is what I'm saying, and they're all at gatewayclipper.com. Give you just a moment to wrap up the photos.